We need to have a serious conversation about the iPad mini 8, because the narrative surrounding this device has completely derailed over the last few weeks. If you look at the rumors right now, you would think Apple is preparing to release a pocket-sized supercomputer. And the craziest part? For the first time in the history of this bizarre, beloved little tablet, those wild rumors might actually be entirely accurate. But there is a massive catch. Behind the scenes, a fierce debate is tearing the tech community apart, and it revolves around a single, highly secretive piece of silicon. What is Apple actually putting inside this machine? The answer to that question fundamentally changes whether the iPad mini 8 is just a nice upgrade for reading books, or a legitimate, game-changing productivity tool that could replace your laptop on a weekend trip. Let's separate the marketing fantasy from the engineering reality. Because what is actually happening in Apple's supply chain is far more interesting than the clickbait you are seeing on your feed. Right now, there is a very vocal subset of enthusiasts absolutely convinced that Apple is going to skip a generation and drop the mythical, unreleased A20 Pro chip straight into the new iPad mini. Their argument is built on recent leaks suggesting massive efficiency breakthroughs on the 2nm process. It is a beautiful dream. It is also entirely wrong. If you have followed Apple for more than 5 minutes, you know they operate on a ruthless, unbending hierarchy of product tiering. The A20 Pro is the multi-billion-dollar crown jewel designed exclusively to sell the upcoming iPhone 18 Pro. If Apple were to take that exact same flagship silicon and stuff it into an entry-level, 8-inch tablet that costs half the price, they would instantly cannibalize their own smartphone sales. Imagine dropping $1,200 on a premium iPhone, only to find out your buddy's couch-surfing tablet is pushing the exact same benchmark scores. That is a supply chain nightmare, and it is a mistake Tim Cook simply does not make. The reality is much more grounded, but honestly, it is still an engineering marvel. All credible intelligence points directly to the A19 Pro chip. But here is the secret detail that most people are glossing over. It will almost certainly be a bin version of the A19 Pro. In the manufacturing world, when a chip is produced and maybe one graphics core does not meet the absolute highest standards, instead of throwing it away, companies disable that specific core and put it in a slightly cheaper device. This is brilliant from a business perspective. It allows Apple to maintain that crucial performance gap between their flagship phones and their tablets, while still giving the iPad mini an absolutely historic leap in raw power. Even with one disabled GPU core, the A19 Pro is going to turn this tiny device into an absolute monster. We are talking about editing 4K video timelines in Final Cut, bouncing between heavy productivity apps without a single stutter, and running console-level gaming titles smoothly. The days of the iPad mini being just a dedicated Netflix and Kindle machine are officially over. But injecting that level of desktop-class horsepower into a chassis that is only a few millimeters thick introduces an unavoidable law of physics: extreme heat. You cannot cheat thermodynamics. Even with the advanced power efficiency of the A19 architecture, thermal throttling is the silent killer of performance. It does not matter if your tablet can run heavy tasks if it starts burning your palms and dropping frame rates 3 minutes into a gaming session. This is exactly why supply chain leaks are heavily focused on a complete internal redesign of the Mini 8. Apple's engineering team is reportedly overhauling the thermal management system, effectively turning the entire rear aluminum casing into a giant, passive heat sink. For those of us who actually use these devices for hours at a time, this thermal redesign is arguably more important than the chip itself. It is the difference between a device that is fast on a spreadsheet and a device that is fast in the real world. Then we have to talk about the visual experience, because the processor is only half the story. The iPad mini has always been held back by perfectly fine, but ultimately uninspiring, LCD panels. That finally ends here. The shift to OLED technology is going to radically transform how you interact with this device. If you have never used a high-quality OLED tablet, the difference in everyday use is staggering. Because OLED pixels illuminate individually, you get true, infinite blacks and a level of contrast that makes reading text sharper and watching movies drastically more immersive. But the secret benefit of this new OLED panel is what it does to the hardware itself. The technology allows Apple to shrink the notoriously thick bezels that have plagued the Mini for years, without increasing the physical footprint of the tablet, meaning it will still comfortably fit in one hand. The actual screen size is expected to stretch out to roughly 8.7 inches. You are getting significantly more workable canvas without sacrificing the portability that makes the Mini so special in the first place. However, we need to address the elephant in the room, because Apple is about to make a decision that is going to infuriate a lot of loyal customers. Despite the glorious new OLED panel, despite the massive A19 Pro chip, and despite the premium redesign, this display is almost certainly going to be capped at a 60Hz refresh rate. Let that sink in. We are approaching a tech landscape where even basic, budget-tier Android phones offer 120Hz scrolling as a standard feature, yet Apple is still stubbornly artificially limiting their devices. They use high refresh rates, which they brand as promotion, as a psychological gatekeeper to force you into buying their most expensive Pro models. But on a device this powerful, 60Hz is going to feel like driving a sports car with the parking brake permanently engaged. Even a subtle bump to 90Hz would completely change the responsiveness of the Apple Pencil and make the entire operating system feel instantly more fluid. It is a stubborn, purely financial decision that holds an otherwise perfect device back from greatness. To power the inevitable demands of on-device Apple Intelligence, which is the real reason Apple is upgrading these specs so aggressively, the Mini 8 is also heavily rumored to feature an absurd 12GB of RAM. That is a mind-blowing amount of memory for an 8-inch tablet, ensuring it will remain fast and capable for years to come. But you do not get an OLED screen, a bin flagship processor, advanced thermal cooling, and 12GB of RAM for free. This brings us to the final, sobering reality, the price. The iPad mini is about to lose its identity as an affordable secondary device. Leaks suggest we are looking at a starting price firmly around the $599 mark. Apple is essentially daring you to treat this not as an accessory, but as a primary computing device. It is a massive gamble. The iPad mini 8 is shaping up to be a breathtaking piece of hardware, easily the most significant upgrade in the product's history, but it demands a premium investment. So, I want to hear from you. Does the combination of desktop power and an OLED screen justify a $599 price tag? Or does the stubborn 60Hz display completely ruin the value proposition for you? Let me know your honest thoughts down in the comments. Hit that like button if you found this breakdown helpful, and subscribe so you don't miss the full review.